Welcome back to another session of Getting Real Estate with Stacey. Today I am very, very excited because with me I have Ethan Leifer, who I know for several years. He started out as the cantor at my temple, and he actually was a cantor for both of my kids' bar and bat mitzvah. And now we are in the same industry, so welcome.
Thank you, Stacey. It's really nice to see you.
Same here.
It's only been a few years.
Only been a few years.
How long do we know each other? Let's see.
Well,
Let's see. If Brooke 26, it's got to be 15 years.
15
ish,
years.
At least.
Wow, how things come full circle. So, tell me, I know what you're up to, so tell them. So where are you, you started out as a cantor.
I started out as a cantor, and there was the writing on the wall in that industry that they were going. A lot of synagogues were going away from the full-time cantor model and kind of more of a utility role for different people in the synagogues. So I knew there was a chance that at the end of my contract that there would either be some modification or maybe it wouldn't be a role at all. So I had to start planning, and I thought real estate would be a good fit for me.
How old were you at that time?
That was, I guess, 11 years ago. So I was 32-ish. And so it's also allowed me to have a little less pressure in going into a commission-only field, and then I was still getting some sort of salary from the synagogue, a house to live in, and all that. Thank God, those 2 years went very well in the real estate. Even though I was decided to leave that synagogue, your synagogue, at that time, and go to a more just part-time thing, and was able to focus completely on real estate, and been building my business ever since, and started on Long Island, and eventually transferred to Manhattan and surrounding areas, and it's been great.
Excellent. So what makes him such a special cantor, besides the fact that he is sweet as sugar, what he does is so different. And I remember even my family commenting at my kids' services about how everything he did was he put it to Broadway show tunes, right? So that's...
Yeah, just trying to make it a little different, and
more entertaining.
Just people can relate.
Correct.
They know the melody in their head, and maybe while they weren't familiar with the Hebrew or that, at least they were familiar with what they were hearing, and then they could relate it, and had a little bit more of a enjoyable experience, in a service, which I know can certainly sometimes get a little bit draggy.
Yes. Okay, so let's go back to the realtors. So you are working with another thing that it's amazing to me. You just recently went over to the agency.
Yes, very happy.
Very happy. Mauricio, as I don't know him personally, but I watched the show Beverly Hills Housewives, and he seems like a great guy, and that's so exciting that you're working for them. And you took your team.
My whole team came with me.
Excellent.
Yeah, we were at Compass for 5+ years before. Which was also a wonderful experience. But we're super excited to be kind of one of their foundational teams here in New York.
That's
and
fabulous.
We're honored and humbled that they thought we would be a good fit for them. And everybody on the team
He's excited.
came along, and I'm grateful to them for trusting me and leading them down this path.
Right.
And it's been now a couple of months, and everything's been going great.
That's
and
great.
Obviously anything with a transition takes a little time, but business is getting on track, and we're doing a lot of marketing stuff, and excited for the future.
So when the world closed down, you couldn't really do real estate, and you couldn't really be a cantor. So that was like a little bit of a time for you to take a little time.
Well, we the cantor stuff went to Zoom.
Oh, that's right.
So I was able to still do some
True.
virtual cantor stuff. But yeah, there were several months where we weren't allowed to show property and do any sort of work in Manhattan. And some buildings still have certain restrictions about
Really?
open houses and things. But that was obviously tough. But
Coming out the
we
other side.
persevered, and
Excellent.
all that build up certainly translated into a very busy 2021, and we hope to
Excellent.
continue it.
Very good. So, what would you say somebody new coming into the industry, whatever? Because it's funny, a lot of the people that I speak to, they do this is not the way that they started out. They figured they were going to do one thing, and then this just fell into their lap, like one way or another. It just came to them. Was like, well, maybe I should try this. Either somebody suggested it or whatever. So, what would you suggest somebody? Most of the people on your team, are they different ages?
Different ages,
Okay.
varying experience, but yeah.
What would
different.
you say to somebody that is new in the industry, just starting out or thinking about it? What would be your advice to them?
Well, my advice to them would be the same advice I give to my team, and that is to focus on the work. Because when you focus on the money, you tend to make decisions that probably are not in the best interest of your client,
Quiet.
or
Excellent.
or even yourself, to be honest. But if you just focus on the work and just the few things that you're supposed to do, should do each day to build your business, and don't get too high or too low, a deal falls apart, okay, move on to the next one. So, close a big deal, great.
Right. Stay
So
humble.
you
and
still
just
gotta, that deal's done now.
exactly.
Right? Where's the next one?
Exactly.
So if you just focus on the work, the money will take care of itself. It will just show up there. But people have a misconception about what we do. They think we sell real estate. We don't sell real estate. What we do is we have one job in my industry, and that's to lead generate. Because if we don't have people to sell or buy real estate, then we have nothing to do. So my advice would be to figure out what modes of lead generation that you would want to utilize, whether it's cold calling or online lead generation or networking events or BNI chapters or whatever it may be. Door knocking,
all of the above.
door knocking in certain, not in Manhattan, but in
Right,
certain
sure.
areas, door knocking.
Right.
Thing. My advice is a combination of all of the
Yes,
above,
that's what we do.
but not everybody is comfortable
with each
doing
thing.
with any of those things.
Correct.
So, but if you don't do that, that has to be priority number one. And when people understand that their one job is to lead generate and to dig into their phone and their sphere, and that's where most of their business is going to come from people who know and like and trust them already, then they can be successful, and they'll have a consistent business and not one that's
right,
like that. So the
I
better
also-
job you do lead generating.
Something that you said is interesting. Being humble, especially with today's market, you can have an amazing deal, and then the next one can fall through or whatever it is, and you really do need to keep your head in the game and not look back. Like, it's always about going forward and what can I do next, and keep things in the pipeline and your relationships and your referrals, and it's always about the client. So that's great. That's great advice.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because you mentioned Mauricio before. He tells a story. He told that he came to visit the office. He sold the Playboy Mansion.
Oh, wow.
Over $100 million.
Wow.
So,
How do
and
you
then
hum-
he
how do you
was
humble
he was
after
in
that?
he was in the office the next day working, and he said that people were coming over and was like, "What are you doing here? Like, should we?" He's like,
No.
he said that deal's done.
Exactly.
Like, I got to worry about the next one.
Exactly.
And so it's the same mentality. You can't get too high, can't get too low. Of course, you should be happy when you celebrate the success of your team and all of those things. But deals are going to fall apart, and big deals are going to happen. But if you're consistent with the work every day and lead generating,
That's great.
you will end up with a long-term, very successful career, and not just a
right now.
momentary
Correct.
spotlight.
This is a type of industry like mine as well, where it is all about referrals and it is all about your name and your reputation, and how you are as an individual or as a team rather than as you know, just everything. It's, what you put into it daily and regularly that really is what is going to come out and be the most important thing, what people are going to remember, how you make them feel, and, the experience and all that kind of stuff. And, there's no, I mean, you can advertise what you're going to be doing, you said, but word of mouth is the best advertisement, as we know.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, I think the statistic is that um, there's an 85% chance or something like that that if someone gets a personal recommendation for a realtor or a mortgage person or a lawyer, there's an 85% chance if that person came personally recommended by somebody
Absolutely.
else that they will get hired. So there's no doubt
Of
that
course.
that previous experience and providing that great service to your clients is going to lead to referrals because they're going to want to tell people about it.
Of course.
And that's why when you focus on the work and taking
Great
care of your
advice.
client and the relationship and not the money,
Great advice.
it technically you will eventually monetize in
Long
greater
term.
ways and long term.
Do you feel that the younger generation focuses more on the money than the older generation because they're so used to getting
I
everything
think-
quickly, quickly,
I
quickly?
think the younger generation is a much more instant gratification
Right, of course,
generation.
driven. Yep.
They, if it doesn't happen right away, they either think it's not going to happen,
Right.
or they're not happy, or and if you're going into this business for your career, right, you have to play the long game. And this is not
Right.
there are going to be months where you close no deals, and there will be months where you can make $1 million in this
Right.
business. So it's just understanding that it can come and go
Yeah,
at
the
any
ebbs and
time,
flows of the industry.
and instant gratification is very difficult to achieve in this business. And to be honest, like I think that would be, obviously it's good if someone's successful, but to me, I think that would hinder somebody more if they just join and get an 18-year-old, 20-year-old who just gets the real estate license, knows somebody, closes a $2 million deal, a $3 million deal. They think this business is so easy. They
Right.
take it easy, and in the long run, they're not going to develop the habits that are
Correct.
needed from
You're absolutely right.
from who is grinding every day and understanding what it takes to build. Because laying that foundation and planting those seeds is going to be able to give you a career,
Correct.
not just a job and a few dollars in a few months. So it's different.
It's like if you give a man the fish to eat is one thing, but if you teach a man how to fish, he has something he can rely on for the rest of his life. So that's
That's it.
pretty much the same premise.
Same premise.
Right. So, all right, great. So I'm trying to think. So what else? So you have the new company, the new agency and stuff. So, what is it that separates you or makes you different? Would you say your team? Well, I guess we have a lot of pointers already. But what would you say sets you aside from other team leaders or other real estate agents or brokers out there?
Okay, good question.
Thank you.
So, I generally don't talk. Obviously, I don't like to talk poorly about other agents, and I don't think it's necessary in this particular case.
It's fair.
But what we do, because let's be honest, once you get to a certain point and you're dealing with a certain level of broker, right? Everybody has access to the same photographers and the same videographers and the same sort of stuff, and the agency can market like Compass can market, and then,
Right.
all of
Right.
those things are the
Right,
same,
right,
right?
right.
At the end of the day, it's coming down to us as individuals and
Great point.
what we can do to build a relationship and make the client comfortable and trust us. I'm a huge proponent and believer in accountability. I believe that is a big aspect
Excellent.
of the business that gets overlooked by real estate agents. The way the industry has evolved with
and
with
MLOs as well.
with exclusive agreements and 6 months, 9 months, a year, um, and it you're basically locking them in, and then what happens if they don't deliver? What's to stop them from promising all of these things, not doing any of them,
Right.
and then the client is what? They're stuck. They're a hostage. There's nothing they can do.
Right.
Um, I don't believe in that. I believe in accountability for me, accountability for my team, and if we're not doing our job or what I promise or what we promise, we should be fired. Just like anybody else who doesn't do their job, they would be fired. So, um, hopefully, not too many see this podcast, but
No,
but
hopefully a lot of people
a lot
see
of
this
us see
podcast.
But what we do differently is add that level of accountability in our agreements, and that I put in there that you can terminate it at any time. Because
Wow.
if we're not doing what we're supposed to do, then you should be able to fire us.
Of course.
And
I'm sure they appreciate that.
what it allows us to do is never be complacent. It never lets us stop to work because I don't know when. Thank God no one's ever used it. But
Thank God.
tomorrow, we're not. I can't sit back and relax and say I'll just follow up and send the seller report tomorrow to them, because what are they going to do if I don't send it, right? It could be any day they can call me and say, Ethan, you know what? This has been great. We want to move on to someone else. And I'm investing
such a
time.
rejection
I'm
and such a-
investing.
wow.
I'm investing money. I'm investing all these things to market their property. I'm taking the risk, but at the end of the day, so are they. In this business, they're risking, and I never take for granted that they have a choice of so many people.
You're absolutely right. There's
A whole sea in Manhattan of real estate agents. I never forget that they have a choice, and they don't have to choose me. They can choose someone else, and ultimately, what sets us apart is our willingness, my willingness, to put our money, our time on the line, knowing that we can get terminated at any time. And I think most brokers are not willing to do that. And it gives our clients the comfort. It gives them the understanding what we're about. It
and
puts
they know
more.
that you're serious.
They know we're serious.
Right.
They know we're going to do everything in our power. That nobody's going to work harder to get their property sold than we are.
Right.
And that one little thing that I added into my business, into these, and I had to go to Compass and I had to go to people of the agency, and because it's not in there, it's not in their agreements. And I said that if you want me here, this is staying in my.
Do you think that other realtors
agreements.
in those two agencies, Compass and the agency, are now?
I don't think anybody knows I do it.
Oh, okay.
Except the managers who sign
okay.
off on the agreements. So
it's such a great idea that you had, but that's you. You think outside the box with everything.
You are. But it's you have to separate yourself somewhere,
right?
Because, like I said, there's so much overlap.
Right.
Well, because I talk to people all the time, and they're like, why? Well, this person also can put our property in the taxis. We could also put our properties here and all these sites.
Exactly.
I said, that's true. But what if they don't do that? With me, if we don't do that, you can fire us. If they don't do that, they don't do that.
Right, of course.
You're stuck for 6 months until you're going to get a phone call from someone like me in 6 months and say, sorry, your apartment didn't sell. Are you ready to get it sold now?
Right.
Because,
That's genius. It's also about, if you put yourself in their position, and you say, well, how would I feel if I was a seller and I felt like I was being taken advantage of and they weren't doing the right thing by me? I would feel trapped. What would I want the next person to say to me that would make me say, you know what, I want to sign with you. I trust you, and I know that you're going to do what's best for me. So you also, it's a type of, people think that it's very mechanical, and we talked about earlier, very black and white. But when you are in this type of industry, you really need to also be a person. People have to see you as a person and know that you know who they are as a person, not just, another apartment that needs to be sold, or another, townhouse that needs to be sold, or another, person that, another tax ID or social security number or something like that. Like, you need to see them and they need to see us as people.
Yeah, listen, you're 100% right. It is about the relationship. It's about understanding that everybody has their own unique situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's about understanding that we are 99.9% of the time dealing with somebody's biggest asset that they own in their life.
Mm-hmm.
This
Biggest
is
purchase they'll ever make.
purchase, sale,
Yep,
their retirement,
exactly.
for their
Correct.
kids, whatever it may
Right,
be.
of course.
This is
A
an
huge decision.
enormous amount
Yep.
of pressure and
Yep.
enormous amount of, and people don't understand that. People think what we do is easy.
Right.
Like people don't,
Right.
like, oh, you sell real estate, you go show an apartment and
Right.
you get these big checks,
Right.
and
It's not that easy. No.
it's not easy. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and on top of that, what I've been trying to combat is, let's be honest, real estate agents don't have the best reputation in general.
Right.
So, they're like one notch below used car salesmen. So what I've been trying to
not
do.
the realtors I know. No, they're great.
I have been trying to elevate the industry and provide a level of service
Right.
that people haven't seen before, and this and to put myself in like with any other job, right? Yeah, I didn't do my job, fire me.
Right.
Right?
Excellent.
They don't get that from most brokers because it's just not the way it works.
Right. Accountability.
And so they just become
Genius.
seen as, and those, like you said, if you have that experience and then I called you, not only are you going to want to know what I'm going to give to you, but you're going to have PTSD. You're not going to want to sign another agreement. You think I want to deal with another liar? Or you think I want to deal with someone else who's just going to make me all the promises and not do anything?
Right.
Those are conversations I have every day.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, that's fine. If you feel I'm not performing, here's the difference.
Right.
If I'm not performing, fire me.
Right. I mean, you're literally putting your money where your mouth is. You're saying you can terminate. That's it. If I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, then it's fabulous.
I lose money. I lose money
And
until the property
and
closes.
time.
I lose money. Every listing we have, every single one, I start in the negative because I have to market the property. I do videos and photos and ads and social ads and thousands of dollars before I even step foot for one showing. I'm in the negative.
Right.
And then a week later, I'm saying, if you're not happy, fire me. Right? So I'm taking a big risk, but I understand what the sellers are going through.
Of course.
Because if I were them, I also would not want to be locked in and have no recourse.
Correct.
If you don't do that would be the first question I ask.
Right.
If you were promising me all these things,
what about me?
If you were promising me all these things, I'm like, okay, and what happens if you don't do that?
Right.
So most brokers are like, well, they're going to say, what? Well, of course we're going to do that. I'm like, okay, and what happens if you don't?
Right.
Well, then after 6 months, you can hire someone else. So I have to wait 6 months for this to. Come on.
And we know in this industry, 6 months, the prices of houses change drastically, and the industry changes. I mean,
Days on market is the single biggest value killer that there is. So if you waste.
That leads us to another thing.
6 months. If you waste 6 months, 180 days on the market, right? You go and look at that property now. You're looking, it says 180 days on the market. You think two things. One of two things. What's wrong with the apartment? Or the price is too high.
Well, the real estate agent just sucks. Now I think.
You know what? I mean, maybe, but probably you're not thinking that. You're gonna think, what's wrong with it?
Right, exactly.
Or the price is too high.
Correct.
So then if I'm having a conversation like 180 days, who's gonna now come after 180 days and think you were priced right? So then you're gonna come see the apartment. You're gonna see, well, the apartment's lovely. So you're gonna rule out number one. So then it's number two. So that means the price is too high. So ultimately, every day that it's on the market, there is more and more value being sucked out of it. So that is why pricing is so important. And that's why hiring the right agent is so important and not losing all of that time. And
so what happens when you walk into, and something that's been on the market for a long time and it hasn't sold. I know that you say that, but now you have to put a whole different spin on it to make it appealing to the public.
Yeah, well, sometimes there are things
that's challenging. I think you like these challenges, don't you?
We love challenges. I built my whole business on expired listings, so I love the listings with hair on them. I love it. I love the challenges. I love to come in there and repackage and remarket and reintroduce
Put your own little spin on it.
And I mean, look, that's the second part of it, right? So, what are you paying me 6% for?
Exactly.
Right. To me, and this is another piece of advice that I would give to anybody who would come to me and ask if they want to sell property. There's a big difference between showing a property and selling a property. Anybody can go into a house and say, here's a kitchen, here's a dining room, here's a bedroom. You don't need to pay me 6% for that. You can get anybody to do that. What are you paying me for? Right? You're paying me to take all the positives of the apartment, accentuate them even more. You're paying me to take any negatives, perceived negatives, real or not real, and spin them into positives or reduce the negative impact that it may have. And then ultimately, when they leave, that they have to think that this is on the short list of what they want to buy. That is selling, right? I am now selling you on the positives. I am removing the negatives or putting a spin on them. Right, sometimes it's easier than others.
Of course.
But that's our job. And ultimately, that has what has made us so successful in selling a lot of these expired listings and properties that we're not able to sell before. It's part one has been our out-of-the-box marketing. I spend a lot of money on marketing. So almost 100% of the time, we are increasing traffic to the listing because of what we're able to do. And we are much more proactive. We're not just putting it up on MLS and praying that buyers show up. We are going out there and finding the buyers.
Proactive.
Much more proactive. That's one.
Excellent.
Once I get them through the door, nobody sells like we do. And it is not an accident that other brokers or other people or even people themselves, right, for sale by owners, tried to sell it and they weren't successful. Many times I didn't even lower the price. It's not like I was like, I 20% lower the price.
Yeah, then it's easy. Of course. It's
easy.
Exactly,
okay.
easy.
Sometimes you have to. Right.
Of course.
But let's assume you got to get to at least closer to market value. Right. But there are many times I've even increased the price a little bit to get it so it crosses over to understanding how the sites work. And when you understand all parts of it, and then you get them in, and then you're able to sell the vision of what the apartment is, and sell and take away
the vision is
take away what the negatives are, and really say, and spin it in a way, and accentuate all the positives that they are. The rest falls away.
All right.
And if I were just to take people around and say, oh, here's a bedroom, here's a kitchen, I'd have the same results as the person before me. But it is not an accident that there are just some brokers that are able to sell more. You could take the same apartment, and I promise you that there will be brokers who would be able to sell it and brokers who wouldn't be able to sell it. And that's, again, coming back to what people think that what we do is just so easy. You just open the door and you go in. There is real sales. There is real influence. There is real, communication and thought that goes on, and how I talk to you and how I communicate that is going to maybe convince you and influence you to do something that I want you to do that maybe someone else was trying to get you the same thing, but the way they said it was not able to communicate. So there is definitely a skill set that certain brokers have that some you can't even teach it, right? That just born with it. But that separates, the good ones from the great ones.
So the next session is going to be, you're going to teach us the.
I can teach you what to say and how to say it.
So obviously you train your team. I mean, when they come in, are most of them seasoned? Is it easier also to, when you have somebody that's new in the industry and they're not quite as seasoned, and you get to like mold them your way as opposed to somebody that's been in there a long
Much
time?
harder to break bad habits.
I'm sure it is.
Much harder. But that being said, I also don't love to babysit the 20 and 21-year-olds who are going to have to worry where they're showing up or not. So I'm finding that happy medium
Good.
of, professional, mature age, but maybe career change and something that, they don't have those bad habits built up yet in the business.
Excellent.
But, yeah.
I also think being hungry has a lot to do with it too. It's like if they walk in here and, like you said, that first deal they have is $2 million and they're like, oh, this is easy. Then they have no initiative or no incentive to want to, work for the next one. It's been handed to them. That's not real. It's not realistic. It's not reality.
They're not looking at the big picture, and it's
correct.
That commission will go very quickly.
Right, of course.
Very quickly.
Yes.
The way, especially younger generation, they love nice things and they love to have them right away, and they're just gonna, and then they will not have done any work, for weeks or whatever after that, and then they're gonna be like, "Where's the next deal?" Like I'm already, my commission's already running out. So, that's why that not getting too high, not getting too low, and just staying consistent, just focus on the work.
Excellent.
It's the key to the whole thing.
Excellent. Thank you so much. This has been so enlightening, and I want to come work on your team.
Come, happy to have you.
I don't think my brother would let me go that fast.
No, but this has been really great, and really great to see you and catch up. And
here. And
I love talking real estate, so anytime.
Yes, of course. Excellent. And thank you again for coming back to another session, and we'll see you soon.